Time once again to dip back into those old superhero drawings I did as a kid and see if there's anything worth salvaging. Greetings, people of the internet. I'm Scott with Serkworks Art Labs. Welcome once again to the underground laboratory where we create robots, aliens, zombies, and other imminent threats to humanity. And when you have those threats to humanity, you need to create heroes to combat them. And I've done a lot of heroes in the past. Lately, I haven't been doing, as far as my own comics, I don't do a lot of superheroes. That's not really the genre I work in, but I do like to design superheroes every once in a while. So I thought it'd be fun to go back to some of my old drawings when I drew when I was a kid. And some of those heroes, and pull them out and see if there's any way I can kind of give them a makeover, kind of make them a little more modern. And I've done a few of these, so I'm going to do another one today. And yeah, but I wanted to talk before I do that. I wanted to talk just briefly about saving your old work, and I guess it's different for different people. I know people that have actually gone and just burned their old stuff. They just don't want to look at it at all. I don't know, I'm kind of from the school of keep that old stuff, because when you look back you can definitely see how much you've improved. Now obviously, now that we have everything, if you're younger and you're creating stuff for all to see, and with the internet and everything, you can kind of go back and look at that stuff. But it's still, I think it's still good to have your original physical artwork if you do work physical. And back when I was a kid, that's all we had. We didn't really have digital stuff. So I've held on to I don't have everything, but I've got a number of things, and it's fun to go back and look at that stuff and ooh, yeah, yeah. But you can see where you were at that point, and it always shows you how you improved. So I'm a big proponent of holding on to your old artwork if you can. But anyway, so because I did that, because I held on to that stuff, I've got a hero today that I want to redesign. I've got a few different versions of her, and she's gone through a number of different, I guess, names and things, and I'm not exactly sure what her powers are. And those have changed a lot through different iterations and everything. But let me show you. So this one here, originally I think she started off being called Star Child, and because that's the name of Paul Stanley's character from Kiss, I decided to change it to, I think, Darkstar, which I'm not sure if there's another hero named that. I know there's a movie. I think it may have been John Carpenter's first movie called Darkstar, but I don't know if there's a hero named that. So I think it's somewhere along the line got changed to Darkstar. So I'll just keep it with that. But as you can see, yeah, just kind of a sort of a Starburst type costume here. And again, excuse these proportions, but I was a little kid when I drew these, so her head is quite small as usual. I always used to draw heads really small, and but anyway, so here's another. I don't know which ones really came first. This may have been. This is really hard to see. She's right in here. Again, here she had a cape. That's the only version I drew with the cape. And then this is a poster I did of this team, and I think I'll eventually get around to redesigning most of this team. But so this is a version of her right here. It's a little bit different. It's the Starburst is sort of in the middle, I guess, and it's more white and blue as opposed to black and blue. And this right here, I think this is the most recent meaning back in, it's dated 93, so it's still pretty old. Some of you people who probably weren't even around back then. But yeah, it's very 90s. Look at all the detail and, unnecessary detail, I would say. And I guess she makes bubbles. I guess that's her powers. No, but I know she has some sort of, I don't know if she had, it was some kind of sorceress power or something like that. So I think it's centered around magic for the most part. But anyway, so that was the most recent. Of course, you got to have the pouches and all this, and I have no idea what all this stuff is, but a lot of that kind of stuff, which is kind of not as in vogue right now, so we'll probably eliminate some of that, but we might add some little extra other than, I mean, the way costumes go, they kind of follow different trends and everything. Back in the 90s, there was pouches and shoulder pads and all that kind of stuff. Now it's more, you're showing seams and everything, and making costumes look a little more realistic, less spandexy, I guess. So I don't know, I think I'll go somewhere in the middle there with this redesign. So anyway, so this is the character Darkstar, and what do you say we kind of take a look and see what we like about this character, and if we can kind of revamp her for modern times. So let's get to it. Alright, let's see what kind of a revamp we can give this character Darkstar. So to begin with, I'm just going to kind of lay out my gesture. I want her to be sort of in a sort of like a floating pose, and just, you know, emanating whatever her power source is. I haven't given that a whole lot of thought, but like I said, it's like more of a mystical or a magical power that she has. So and the more I start to think of her, I wonder if she's seems a little bit derivative of like Starfire from Teen Titans, but I don't know that she was the original influence. Originally, she was very much influenced by a character called Snowbird from Alpha Flight, because that was like when I started collecting comics as a kid. That was like my favorite comic, and so this whole team, a lot of you'll see they're pretty much rip-offs of like Alpha Flight characters. Whereas, you know, a lot of my peers probably that grew up in that area, they kind of probably took more from the X-Men, but you know, for whatever reason, I first discovered Alpha Flight, so that's kind of the one that I stuck with. So, but you know, she's changed a lot through the past, so she doesn't look a lot like Snowbird. Like the one iteration I showed you in the beginning with that rollout poster, with the blue and the white. Now we're kind of making I'm going to use sort of the black and somewhere in between a blue or a teal for her. So as you can see, this one is, out of all the ones I've done, this one, well, maybe the first one was somewhat similar to the original design. I tried to incorporate that Tempest. And if you're not familiar, this is sort of a series I've been doing, so you can kind of go back and look at some of the other ones. But I like this sort of starburst. I like the asymmetrical nature of it, so it's coming off of one side. So I want to keep this whole costume pretty asymmetrical, where we're going to have, it's going to be different. You can see there's sort of a sash or something that I'm keeping on that kind of wraps from her waist down to her leg. And I think I'm going to do something that I debated on doing, and just kind of having that, maybe her skin exposed here, just on her thigh right there, and then probably somewhere on the arm too. And I debate that because sometimes people do that. They do like weird things with the cuts of costumes and things like that. But then I know I've seen like runners that kind of wear those spandex, and I forgot there was an Olympic runner a while back, and I think I've seen that since then, where they've got just different cuts, so it's not so out of the ordinary to do that. So, but sometimes you see it and it's just bizarre. The other thing I'm going to do is, as you can see right now, I'm just kind of fleshing in her hair. The one thing that I thought made her look a lot like Starfire before, because if you've looked at Starfire, you know except in maybe the cartoon, she doesn't have it. I think she's got straight hair in the cartoons, and maybe they've probably borrowed that now. I don't know what the current version of her looks like, but when I was growing up, she had this sort of a fiery hair, and it was really curly, and it just went on forever. And originally her hair was like that, but I'm going to kind of keep it straight and wavy, and sort of, you know, I like the way it's kind of covering part of her face. I think that sort of gives her a little more mystery. And of course, I'm drawing a staff for her, so whether she emanates her own power or whether that comes from this magic staff, I'm not sure. Probably she has her own power. Maybe this is just a way to direct that. Again, a lot of times sometimes I play around with the visuals before I actually give them their powers, and sometimes it's the other way around, where I have a good understanding of what it's going to be, and that informs the design of the character. So now I'm just going in and I'm inking, so we can kind of see how this starts to come together. The other thing I'm doing, and she didn't have any kind of a mask or anything. On this one, she's either got like it's either like a partial mask, or it's a, you know, face paint, or maybe like a tattoo. Probably not a tattoo, because that would probably mean that she has that permanently, and she probably has some kind of alter ego. I'm not sure.
But anyway, but I did put that over her one eye that's exposed. So, and again, back to the asymmetry. If her hair was to blow back beyond where it's covered by her, her face is where it's covered by her hair, you wouldn't see that same design on the other side. So that would just be on one side, because again, one side I've got like sort of, again, a shoulder pad, but not that 90s shoulder pad. It's more just like a armor. And a lot of times, especially when we're drawing females, the armor doesn't always make sense, because usually we like to make them a little more scantily clad, and it doesn't make a lot of sense why so much of their body's exposed, whereas she's got little bits of armor here. But this also could be more. She's not really. I guess it's not necessarily so much armor as protection for this character, because she's not. I don't picture her like in a battle, like a sword fight battle or something like that. She would be more because she has whatever power she has is something that it's like a sort of a projectile or a spell that she casts or whatever. She probably wouldn't be doing like a lot of hand-to-hand combat or battling. So most of this is probably the designs and everything that you see. That what armor she does have probably has more to do with wherever she's getting her power from, whether whatever kind of culture it is, or whoever, a lot of times when we have characters that are like more mystical, like a Doctor Strange or something, that power that they get is coming from somewhere else, whether it's more like an Asian culture or like a Middle Eastern culture or something like that, Egyptian, whatever kind of culture. And it could be alien too, although I think the last character I did has more of an alien thing, so I might want to keep this wherever her power comes from and wherever her design comes from, whatever culture, whether it's, and it could be just a made-up culture, like it could be like a Wakanda type thing where it's kind of a mishmash of different African cultures or something like that. So it could just be it could be like Native American, or just again something altogether just sort of made up, like this culture, like something that doesn't exist anymore, like druids or something. But so that's kind of the idea behind. So she would have probably discovered some ancient civilization that had these magical powers, and this design is indicative of that particular whatever if she hails somehow has lineage in that, or she just discovers it or whatever. And for this, I'm going to, I did one other character, again, the corridor character I did had some sort of mystical powers, and I'm trying to separate these a little bit. With him I went with a lot of gold, with her I'm going with more silver. Plus I think that I like the silver and the grays and the blacks, and then just that with the blue. So yeah, I think I do kind of like how her skin's sort of exposed in certain areas. Just, I don't know, I think costume-wise that looks kind of cool. I could be wrong. It could be like, this is super ridiculous, but sometimes we do things that don't always make the most sense. And again, this could be some weird thing that comes from the culture of where her magic is taken from. But so far, yeah, I'm pretty happy with this redesign. I'm liking the colors. I don't know if it should have been a little more blue, but I am trying to keep the colors of each character a little different. So I had Tempest, who had some blue, and some other characters, and then hopefully this isn't too green, because my Dragonfly character had a lot of green. It's definitely a different green, but it does straddle that between the blue and the green. So anyway, I'm pretty happy with the way this turned out, but you guys let me know what you guys think.
Okay, here is the revamped version of Darkstar. We can kind of compare that to this version here. Went with sort of the same color scheme and everything. The black, it's a little, her blue's a little more green, which I'm not sure, because I have another female hero in this team, if I ever actually put them all together or do anything with them, and she has green. It's quite a bit, different color green. It's more of a lime green, the other character. But I maybe should have gone a little more closer to this blue, but then I got another character that has blue, and I guess if you're just doing individual characters, that's fine, but if you are doing like a team, it's kind of good to kind of, you know, compare them to what other characters are on your team, so you don't have all sort of the same color, unless you're going for that look, like, you know, X-Men and the original X-Men, they, you know, they've kind of always had the black and yellow and everything, and that works as well too. So just something to think about when you're designing a team. But yeah, I'm fairly happy with how she came out. She's a good addition to this modern team, and we'll see where we go from there. Yeah, next time, I don't know, I'm getting close. What have I done, like 4 of them? And I don't know, there may be like 8 people on this team, so we're about halfway through. So anyway, that's it for today, and I will see you guys later. That is all. Hey everyone, thanks for joining me here in the Art Lab. There's a lot of other great content on the channel, so click that subscribe button and you won't miss a thing. If you're an aspiring evil genius, visit Serkworks.com for all your mad science supply needs. And if you want to contact me, hit me up in the comments section or follow me on social media. I'm looking forward to it. I'll see you then.